In this video, we're going to take a look at a problem involving the cosine rule. So this is one of the 4 different types of formula we might call upon to solve a problem involving triangles at leave insert level. The 4 different options you have are Pythagoras, SOHCAHTOA, the sine, cos or tan. I group them as one option because they are really all going to be the same type of question. You've then got the cosine rule or you've got the sine rule. I have a video breaking down how to decide which one you're going to use. In this question, because I have 3 sides and I want to find one angle, and I can't confirm that this is a right angle triangle, so we go with the assumption that it's not. So in that case, we're going to need the cosine rule, which you will get in your log tables, and it's a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of a. Now, there are other videos that I have that break down what this is, where it comes from, all of that. In this video, we're just looking at purely how to apply it to solve a problem. So, in this question, we're told that Olga has already worked out the distances between 3 points labelled x, y and z in the diagram on the right, not drawn to scale, obviously, that's not 800 meters. And we have to work out the size of the angle at x. So I'm going to mark that in here, and we can call it x. You can call it a if you like, you can call it alpha if you like, anything you like. I'm going to keep life simple, and I'm going to use the letter x here. In the triangle XYZ, give your answer in degrees correct to 1 decimal place. So we're going to use the FIFA method here. I'm going to put a next to that because when I come to my answer stage and I want to reflect on the answer that I get, I want to make sure that I reflect on this part, giving my answer in degrees and to 1 decimal place. So, like all trigonometry questions, we're going to follow the FIFA method. So formula first, here's the formula. Picking the formula is possibly one of the hard parts here. And the reason why I've picked it is I cannot tell if this is a right angle triangle or not. There is no evidence that it is a right angle triangle, so that means it narrows it down to 2 options for me, the cosine rule or the sine rule. The next thing is when I want to look between those 2, I look at what do I have more of. I need 2 angles to be marked or documented, or I have one and I'm looking for the other in order for the sine rule to work. So there's a focus on angles in the question. You've got 2 involved, you're going to have the sine rule. If you've only 1 angle involved and you know all of the sides, or you know 2 of the sides and an angle, it's the cosine rule. Okay, so more information on sides is the cosine rule. It's the most useful to us. More information around angles, you're going to use the sine rule. Now, how do we fill it in? Well, the side that is across from the angle that we're using. Well, first of all, the angle that we're using is capital A. Let me be clear about that first. Nice and easy. The side that is across from the angle we're calling A is given the name A. So this is lowercase a. So that's lowercase a. Then for B and C, it actually doesn't matter. Same way in Pythagoras, the one you have to get right is the hypotenuse, which is always across from the right angle. The exact same thing happens here. The one you have to get right is A, which is always across from the angle you're either finding or you're working with. So here we're going to, you can use B and C whichever way you like. I'm going to say that's B then, because I just highlighted it first, and then this is C across here. So just for my own self, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I've written out the information, because the last thing you want to do in an exam is do all the hard work to find the right formula and then mess up in writing it down. So there's my formula. Let's just bullet point my information. I've got A is going to be filled in as 550. B is going to be filled in as 700, C is going to be filled in as 800, and the capital A for angle, I'm going to use the letter X. So then we fill in the formula, right? So I'm going to have A squared, so it's going to be 550 squared. Then I'm going to have is equal to b squared, which is going to be 700 squared. And then I'm going to have plus c, which is going to be plus 800 squared. And then we're going to have minus 2 multiplied by, because they're side by side, no symbol in between. 2 multiplied by b, which is 700, multiplied by c, which is 800, multiplied by cos of the angle A. So I'm going to move this, slide this over, and I'm going to have cos of the angle A. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to actually find A. That means I need to get A on its own. Apologies, we're calling A x. So I'm going to call it x here instead of that. So we fill that in as x. I want to work towards getting x on its own. So this is actually no longer about trigonometry at all. This question is actually now all about algebra. Okay, so what you might actually want to do, I'm going to give you another option over here. I'll show you 2 ways you could do the algebra. If you know you are going to want to find out the angle, you could do the algebra on this first before you get your information and before you fill it in. So what I could do to get the algebra kind of sorted there is I'm going to take away b squared from both sides. I'm also going to take away c squared from both sides. Then we're left with minus 2 multiplied by b multiplied by c multiplied by cos of the angle. I want to get cos of the angle on its own, so I'm going to need to get rid of this. So I ask myself, what is that doing? And it's multiplying, and to get rid of multiply, we're going to divide. So I'm going to divide this side by minus 2bc, and I'm going to divide this side by minus 2bc. If I do that then, I'm going to have a squared minus b squared minus c squared all over minus 2bc. And if I do that on this side, this divides down to give me 1. And 1 multiplied by cos of a is just cos of a. So if you'd rather do that first, you can. But maybe in your mind it's easier to fill it in. Because by the way, if you have the correct formula fully substituted, so you have gotten to this stage right here, you have 80% on that part of the question. This right here is 80% of the marks. So make sure you do spend the time on what matters in the exam, which is identifying the correct formula, filling it in correctly. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is I'm going to start tidying this up. So if I actually square this out, I'm going to get 302,500 on this side is equal to 700, which is going to be 490,123. And then I'm going to have 800 squared, which is going to be plus 641,234. And then all of that stuff on the left there, this piece here is going to work out to be minus, so 2 by 700 by 800 is going to leave me with 112, and then 12340. So just popping that into your calculator. 2 by 700 by 800 leaves me with this. And then I have cos of x. So then, like at this stage, that was worth 80%. Anything I do after that is only worth 20% of the marks. Okay? But we want to do our best in all questions. So let's keep pushing. Let's keep going and get this out as best we can. If I start to tidy this together then, so let's do that out. So I'll need to do it in my calculator here. So I've got 4912340 plus 641234. I get here that this side works out to be 1130,123. Take away, this is still just 1120, and we're going to have 123. The biggest mistake that students make at this stage, or even before this point right now, is students will often include this when they subtract or try to tidy up this side. But please remember the order of operations. This is multiplying by that, and that will always happen first before it subtracts from this. So you can even think of that like this, like a bracket around it. That has to happen first. It's being multiplied. So students always go wrong at that stage. When they go wrong with the cosine rule, that's where the errors come up. Okay, the next thing, so we're keeping that. You can even put it in bracket if you want, just so you remember you don't touch it yet, because that has to multiply by that. Then I want to get closer to having the cos of x on its own. So I'm going to subtract this from both sides. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say, right, take away 1, 1, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 from both sides. So 1, 1, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I do that, what do I get? So I've got 302,500, and I'm going to subtract 1, 1, 3, 0, and then 1, 2, 3. And if I do that, and I subtract them, I get a negative number, but that's okay, and we'll see why in a second. So I get minus 827,500. And I'm going to then have that on this side, that now added together to give us 0, this added together to give us that. This becomes minus 1, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3 times cos of x. Now I want to get the cos of x on its own. And how do I get rid of this? What is this doing to that? Well, they're side by side. There's no symbol in between them. So this minus 1,120,000 is multiplying by the cos of x. So to get rid of it, we're going to divide by that on both sides. So I'm going to say divide by 1,120,000 on both sides. So if I do that, on this side they divide down to give me 1, and then it's 1 times cos of x, which is simply cos of x. On this side, so I'm going to divide by minus 1, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. And if I do that, then I get 0.7388 da 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 da. But actually I got a fraction, and you know what, that's better than writing out the decimal at this stage. Let's keep it as a fraction. So we get 331 over 448. Now I have to get x on its own. What's that cos doing to the x? Well, it's its own function, cos of x. What's the opposite or inverse function or operation of cos of x? Cos inverse of x. So we're going to get cos inverse of x, and we do it to both sides, but on this side it drops down to just give us x, and here we get cos inverse of 331 over 448. And if we do that out in our calculator, we will actually get 42.4 degrees. So remember what you need to be careful of. Did we answer it in the correct structure? So we did our formula, we did our information, we filled it in, we got 80% of the marks. For full marks, we need to give our answer in degrees, correct to 1 decimal place. In degrees and correct to 1 decimal place. So that's how we use the cosine rule. So I hopefully pointed out to you there some of the traps you need to be aware of to keep an eye out for. Most of it is just algebra. The majority of the trigonometry marks are won at this stage. After that, it's just algebra and being familiar with what you can and can't do. And that will come with practice of algebra questions, and then knowing what the traps are, and when you know they're coming up, that you slow down and you kind of coach yourself through it.